Sunday night reaction show on the Don't Argue with the Facts podcast page. I'm your host, Noah Love, and tonight we'll be going through over mostly the divisional round matchups. Championship Sunday is set next Sunday, January 26th. We got two championship matches for the right to go to Super Bowl 59. National titles tomorrow. National title game is tomorrow. We will talk about that. And we'll talk about, I guess, some college basketball here, or I'll just recap some of it here real quick. It was a wild day in college basketball. Let's wild day. And then we'll get into the football because I have a lot of thoughts on the week. Let's start on Saturday. Obviously, Auburn being number one, they escaped Georgia 70-68, really good. West Virginia basketball is back. They upset Iowa State. What a season they're having. Javon Small, 27 points. Couldn't express it enough. When football season ends, or really, I guess we're really going to start getting into more NBA and college basketball on this channel. Stay tuned. Duke beats Boston College. Duke has the highest ceiling in the country. See, Alabama beat Kentucky. SEC's a bloodbath, but that was a really good win on the road for Alabama at Kentucky. Florida beat Texas 84-60. Vandy, who now is probably going to be a tournament team in basketball, they go on the road and beat, or they are at home and beat number 6 Tennessee. That's a heck of a win for them. Tennessee, those are two bad losses. Chas Lanier at the free throw line. This tough. Marquette gets upset. That's Marquette's first home loss of the season. Xavier gets a big win against Marquette in a defensive bout on the road. Kansas beats a struggling Kansas State team. It was a rivalry game. That's why it was close, but Kansas, really good game. Hunter Dickinson led the way with 25. Kansas, really good team. Houston wins or escapes on the road at UCF. Very good win. Texas A&M beats LSU. No real surprise there. Purdue, they've won 7 in a row. They beat Oregon 65-58. How about them? The Pacific Northwest sweep. UConn losing to Creighton. Look, Creighton had 2 games at Marquette, at UConn. If you can't get one of those, especially with the way you kind of started non-conference with injuries and all that, you're not getting into the NCAA tournament. But they got the win. It was huge. Battle Mississippi, Ole Miss, and Mississippi State. Mississippi State won that, 84-81. Gonzaga drops their second straight in West Coast Conference play. 103-99 to Santa Clara. The Bulldogs, they're still going to make the tournament, but from where they started the year, not great. Wisconsin goes on the West Coast and wins at USC. Very good win. Some other action that happened today. Michigan survived at home against Northwestern, led by Vladislav Golden's 31 points. And Michigan State won. They're the hottest team in college basketball. 11 straight wins, 80-78. And TCU upsets Baylor 74-71. Okay, that was a lot. But now we can get into the football. Let's just go in chronological order here. Houston at Kansas City. The Chiefs advanced to their 7th straight. Unprecedented in 7 seasons that Patrick Mahomes has been quarterback. 7 straight AFC title games. This will be the 6 out of the 7 have been at home. Last year wasn't. So yeah. 23-14 was the final score in this game. I have in my notes here before uh, the Chiefs beat the Texans, obviously, but the Chiefs defense / special teams was fantastic because they were this, and I have the refs were awful. Let me address the refereeing first. The refereeing had did it have an effect on the outcome? There were some bad calls, the roughing the passer and everything. Did it did it have effect on the outcome? I don't know. Look, the Texans did enough in this game to where you lost the game. And if you're the Texans looking at the stats, you feel like okay, we were the better team. But the mistakes that you made in this game, oh, we knew everybody was going to be against us. Like, okay, like if you look at these stats, you had 18 first downs to their 14. You were 10 of 17 to their 4 of 11 on third down. You ran 15 more total plays. You ran 65. They ran 50. 336 total yards to 212. You average 5.2 yards per play to 4.2 yards a play. You think if you don't think that it's a big gap, 4.2 yards per play is hideous. You had 187 passing yards to one. They're 162. You outrushed them by 99 yards, almost 100 yards, 149 to their 50. You averaged 5.1 yards per rush. But you know what? And you had the time of possession, 33 minutes, 26. You know what kills you, though? You allow a big kick return to start the game. That gives the Chiefs 3 points. Fairbairn misses 2 field goals. One at the end of the game it was blocked, and the other one in the middle of the game, I think it was 6-3, 55-yard missed that. He missed the extra point to tie it at 13. And then you had, in terms of now the penalties, 8 for 82. Look, there were 2 blatant penalties that gave the Chiefs first downs. That was huge, but I understand why Texans fans are mad about the refs, but the refs did not lose this game. Travis Kelce having his best game of the season, 7 receptions for 117 touchdown, forgetting how to guard him and cover him. Stroud for 245. Great job. But you let him get sacked 8 times. You let Stroud get sacked 8 times. It can't happen. You have to keep your quarterback upright. Unless you're Joe Burrow, you're not winning a game like that. Again, I just have to reiterate, sacked 8 times. He was pressured more than that. George Karlaftis had 4 QB hits and 3 sacks. Chris Jones had a sack, obviously. They had 8 sacks on the game. They had 14 QB hits. You did enough things, Houston, in this game to where it cost you, and I don't think it was the rest. I don't think the Chiefs played particularly great, mainly on the offensive side of the ball. Their defensive special teams carried you, but the Chiefs remind me of New England, where you pretty much have to be perfect to go into that building against that coach, against that quarterback, against that DC, against that defense, and win. You essentially have to be perfect. Stroud and the Texans were not. It just seemed like it's a different class. Houston, I believe, is not that far away. Once they get a healthy offensive line, once they get an offensive line to protect Stroud, they're good because they got the receivers. Schultz is a really good tight end. They obviously have the true number one in Nico. They have a great back in Joe Mixon. What a pickup that was. You have to coach. That defense, I give them so much credit. That defense was primarily the reason the Texans hung around the Will Anderson, Daniil Hunter, that deal. Lassiter, Stingley, Harris, Alshire, they were the reason why the Texans were just able to hang around. But when it's 13-12 and when you need a drive, Mahomes delivers it. And that's how the Chiefs keep winning. It would be like, how do the Chiefs keep winning? It's a prime example. Again, I have my notes in the offseason. The Texans need to figure the offensive line out because your quarterback was sacked second most in the league this year. I behind Caleb Williams. Caleb Williams was sacked 69 times. Stroud was sacked 55. Last year, sacks weren't an issue. This year, they were. You're going to have to figure it out. And it hurts that Dell and Diggs got hurt because you're coming into the playoffs this year primarily on the offensive side of the ball, outside of Mixon with the same personnel. And they knew it wasn't going to be enough. Granted, I give D'Amico Ryans. They had a great game plan. I know the Chiefs were rusty, but I give both. Spagnola's one. By the way, just to pivot, Spagnola is the best big game DC I think I've ever seen. Constantly in big games, he gets his defense to rise to the occasion. Games on the line, 5 straight times. He's just saying, "I'm bringing the house." 5 straight times, he's like, "You know what? I'm bringing the house. You're not gonna be able to handle it." And Stroud, and they couldn't handle it. I also give D'Amico Ryans props because that defense played phenomenal in the past 2 games. Houston's going to be here. The AFC's so loaded with young quarterbacks, which we could talk about at a later date, maybe this week. But the Chiefs just did enough to win, and that's a 7th straight AFC title game appearance. Now going to Lions and Commanders. I have on my top bullet, this game was drunk. This game was drunk because it was, and the Commanders did it. They pulled it off. People thought Detroit was just going to blow them out the water. I didn't think that. Now, I thought Detroit would win the game, but I didn't think blow out the wall. But 45 points on the road against the number 1 seed. Against what people were calling the best team in the NFL. Look, you can say injuries and all that for the defensive side. I can hear all of that. You know who wasn't injured? The Lions offense. And the Lions offense turned the ball over 5 times. And, okay, you beat Houston doing that. You cannot beat the Commanders and Jaden Daniels doing that. Now, I get Detroit credit. Like, Detroit's offense still, I mean, they ran for 201. And Goff was 23 of 40 for 313. But it was the turnovers. The turnovers killed you. Again, in this game, like 521 total yards of offense. 7.7 yards per play. That's great. But the 4 picks, the 1 fumble, yes, you ran for 201. I mean, you were 8.7 yards per rush, but you were scoring quickly. What killed them was the second quarter. When you let Washington score 28 in the second quarter, that's ultimately what killed you. Washington is now off to the NFC title game for the first time since 1991. I just got to talk about Jaden Daniels. This kid's special. or this kid, this guy special, man. This roster, people will look at it and say, well, some of it has to do with the roster. Look, this is primarily the same roster as last year. Primarily, in most spots, it's the same roster as last year. This is the same team that traded away their number two in Jahan Dotson before season, which I thought was stupid. Jaden Daniels is taking a subpar offensive line, a receiving core that's pretty much Terry McLaurin, even though De'Ami Brown's coming in, pretty much a pretty much just Terry McLaurin. Diami Brown. He played well yesterday, but as a number two consistently, you don't know. He has two decent backs in Eckler and Robinson. He doesn't Zach Ertz, I love you, but he doesn't really have the greatest tight end threat of all time. But yet he's basically their pass and running game at points. But again, they ran for 182 and 3 touchdowns as a team, finding ways to win. Jaden Daniels, he didn't look phased. He had 122.9 passer rating. He was 22 of 31, 299, 2 touchdowns, no picks. What killed Detroit in this game was no turnovers. Look, Detroit, I'm heartbroken for you. Like, that's a tough one. But we can't sit here. We can't sit here and not talk about how good Jaden Daniels is. I analogize the quarterbacks in the NFC, in the AFC and the NFC as AFC is where superhumans or superheroes play quarterbacks with some good roster and some of it not great. I look at the NFC and I say there are decent to good quarterbacks with great rosters. I know Matt Stafford. He's really good. Going to be a Hall of Famer. They got a decent roster around him. Daniels, this isn't a great roster around him. Excuse me, but this is a great roster. But the key is they got new management. They hired the coach, and they let the coaching staff, GM, do their thing. And Dan Quinn, look, say what you want about Dan Quinn. Dan Quinn, people were crucifying him after the 48-32. I got it. Last year in the playoffs, look, I got it. But he was a good head coach in Atlanta. It just kind of fell apart at the end. The 28-3 killed them. They haven't been the same. He's been really good. Cliff Kingsbury, look, as a head coach, not great, right? Not great. But as a coordinator, he's doing a really good job with Jaden Daniels. I mean, the read option, the triple options that Detroit couldn't stop, the RPOs, Jaden Daniels, every time they blitzed him, got the ball away. No sacks, no turnovers. Jaden Daniels in the commit. This is an incredible story. This is the greatest single season turnaround in NFL history. To go from 4-13 a year ago to 12 wins is already remarkable. But to go from 4-13 just 365 days ago to an NFC title 1 year later, when only the big piece you really added, obviously from a roster standpoint, was Jaden Daniels. Look, I don't know who's getting coach of the year. It might be Kevin O'Connell. It might be Dan Campbell. Whoever wins it between those two, they deserve it. But Dan Quinn needs some recognition because he's brought life back into the city of Let's face it, Washington, you're stuck with the Wizards, which sucks. Like, because they stink. Washington. The Wizards were good at one point, but now they're in a rebuild. But for 3 to 4 shining months, this is a dream season. Enjoy it. I promise you, enjoy this. And we'll see next Sunday. Am I going to be talking about the Commanders going to the Super Bowl? We will see. But if Washington fans enjoy it, first time in 33 years, look, I think you'll get, there's no guarantee you'll get back, but I think you will get back again, because that, as long as you have that kid was a decent roster around him, or that guy was a decent roster around him, you'll be good. Washington, I'm not going to say they're going to win the East because Philly's still there, but they will be around in the playoffs for the next decade. And you're going to have to deal with that dude, 5, Jaden Daniels. And we'll see. He's going to be best. When Stafford retires, he's going to be the best quarterback. I don't want to hear about Jalen Hurts. I don't want to hear about Bryce Young, Michael Penix, Dak Prescott. He will be the best quarterback. He will be the best quarterback. Now we go to the game today. One of two, Eagles and Rams. The Eagles are moving on 28-22 to face the Commanders for the third time this season for a right to go to the Super Bowl. First of all, I just want to say this. If you're a Giants and Cowboys fan, you're sick. You're sick. You're just completely sick. I posted it on my story. You're sick. And the reason you're sick is because, okay, from Philadelphia's standpoint, yeah, they've been here before, but they get Saquon Barkley. Like, Giants, you just gave him away for nothing. And now he has a chance to reach the Super Bowl in his first year. People will be like, oh, say that we didn't need to sign Saquon, bro. I mean, how much more did I to the NFC? He's in the NFC title game. He is the reason the Eagles are 14-3. Like, it's him. Like, we could talk about Jalen Hurts and the defense. It's him, bro. If he doesn't hit those 2 home runs, it's a completely different game. It's him. That line. And again, I thought the Eagles were almost going to blow this. Because, okay, Hurts gets hurt, right? We got to talk about this because Hurts gets hurt. He's on one leg, essentially, right? And on 2nd and 7, it's 29-22 after Barkley hits the big home run. The Rams get a touchdown with about 3 minutes left. On 2nd and 7, bum-like quarterback. You run a boot. Why? You have Saquon Barkley, who at that point had ran for probably 196, about to get 200. Why don't you give him the ball to try to ice the game? I just need to know. Why? You made your fans sweat it out when you've got 2-6 in the backfield. Get the ball to 2-6. But you don't do that. It gets sacked. And now it's where, run game was great. In terms of just pass blocking, they could not pass block the Rams all night. It just wasn't happening. And kind of the same thing late in the game again for the Rams. Yeah, and then it gets a 3rd and 17. I think they run for probably about 8-9. They got them over 200. They punt it back, and Stafford's on the last drive. That 3rd and 2 sack pretty much killed him. Center turns the wrong way. Jalen Carter makes a nice swim move sack. That killed him. It did. And 4th and 11, too high. I think with the elements and everything, when you play in LA, you don't see enough of that. Pray for LA, by the way, but you don't see enough of the elements. Both teams have to play in them. Obviously, I'm not making an excuse for the Rams, but they dropped the ball and everything. Both teams got to play on them. They got to play better. Again, Saquon was fantastic. Hurts was better than he was against Green Bay. Hurts, he was. I know people are going to go crazy. He only threw for 128. He didn't even have a passing touchdown. His QBR was 49.5. I get all that. He was sacked 7 times, by the way. But he did have a big touchdown run to start the game that ultimately you can say that was the difference because they won by 6. You can ultimately say that big time touchdown run to start the game for 44 yards. They ran the O line. They said at the end of the game the O line wanted 300. They got 285. Yeah, I just don't look. Their formula works. People can get on the Eagles all they want. That their formula works. They run the football. They run the football. They get after you on defense. They play great coverage, and they make their quarterback make maybe 1 or 2 big throws per game. It works. It just works. Stafford was great. It was good. I think his receiving core let him down with some big drops. Nakua, Robinson, he was 26 for 443, 24, 2 touchdowns. Shout out to the Rams, man. Great season, divisional round, second youngest team in the league, and they were a drive away from going to the NFC title game potentially. That one's gonna hurt. It's gonna hurt for the Rams because legitimately they had chances in this game. Felt like Sean McVay could have been more aggressive in the first half, but defense were playing well. I understood it. Then the elements came in, obviously. They almost won it, but that Philadelphia team, that's a tough team to beat at home. It just is. That's a tough team to beat at home, especially in those elements like Barkley. So good. Their stats, I mean, I'm looking at them here. It's as even as game of you can play. 18 first downs to 16. 6 of 16 on 3rd down for the Rams, 6 of 15 for the Eagles. 1 of 2 fourth down for the Rams, 1 of 1 for the Eagles. 70 total plays, 61 total plays, 402 total yards to the Rams, 350 for the Eagles. Both average 5.7 yards per play. But where the game was wrong was the rushing, because even time of possession, 29 minutes to 30 minutes. What killed him was the rushing. You gave up 285. You gave up almost 300 again to the Eagles rushing attack. And that is the reason that you're going home. Shout out Jared Verse. Played a great game. They've got the best young D line in football. And I think if Stafford and them are back next year and he's still playing at a high level, they'll be back in the playoffs. Commanders Eagles. Early line is Eagles favored by 5.5 at home. That's the 3 o'clock game on Fox. If you told me Washington and Philly be playing for an NFC title game, I would not have believed you. I would have believed Philly would have been there, but I did not. I wouldn't have believed Washington would be. So I just the line's 5.5. The over under's 47.5. Do with that what you will. Sometimes I trust Vegas, sometimes I don't. It is what it is. The key for Washington is they have to stop Barkley. I know Jaden Daniels was great in the second game and all that. Their defense was actually pretty good in the first game of Washington until the end. But you gotta hold Barkley under wraps. I know the second game. Look, Kenny Pickett. If Jalen Hurts doesn't get hurt, you can make an argument they probably win the game. Look, Washington's gonna have a ton of confidence. The key for Philadelphia is going to be how they handle the RPOs and the triple options and how they play Jaden Daniels. I would like to see how they cover McLaurin. What are they going to do? Terry McLaurin, all the different quarterbacks. He finally gets quarterback and he's in the NFC title game. Great for him. Yeah. So the Eagles Commanders, very intriguing. We'll get into some more previews. Obviously, Eagles is going to all be about stopping Jaden Daniels. They're probably going to want to control the time of possession. Obviously, hit the home run hitters with Barkley. And for Washington, it's obviously going to be about stopping 26 in the backfield. So yeah, last game of the night, the main event. Great game. It was a great game. Bills Ravens 27-25. This game was people talked about the quarterbacks in how they will play. It was really about the run games. The run game, both teams ran the ball particularly well. Particularly well, both teams. Buffalo won the time of possession about 31 minutes to 28. They ran for 147, which was really good. But you're going to look at this box score if you're Baltimore. And all season, Harbaugh is really going to be kicking himself. They just are. They have more first downs. They were okay, they equaled the Bills on fourth down. They were better on third down. They have more total yards. They had a better yards per play. They have more passing yards. They have more rushing yards. They averaged more yards per rush. They were about saying the red zone they were 2 or 3. Okay, Buffalo was 3 or 4. The differences in the game is the 3 turnovers. And look, people I've seen people already starting to do the Lamar narrative. There's no narrative here. Lamar played good enough to win this game. I know he had the pick and the fumble, but in the second half, I thought he was brilliant. He drives his. By the way, last drive, he drives his team down 88 yards in 8 plays, and it's a tie ball game if Andrews drops the pass. Now we can play there's a minute 30 left. There's no guarantee he wins the game. I'm not saying he would have won the game, but I'm saying anything that happened after that, if Buffalo goes down and gets a field goal, that's on the defense. That ain't on Lamar. Look, Lamar, okay, I get he had 2 turnovers, but it's 24-19. Andrews fumbles with 7 minutes left to go. He doesn't see it till about it would have been about 2:40 left on the clock. He doesn't see it till then. Doesn't see the ball back until then. And he goes down in 8 plays. And Andrews drops it. Baltimore just shot themselves in the foot. It's kind of what it's been all year. Josh wasn't particularly spectacular until they needed him to be in the red zone. You know, did I've got my notes here. Josh Allen decent in the first half. The Bills in the first half they got up 21-10. They were winning the line of scrimmage. Lamar bad pick and that fumble. You can't have three turnovers and not turn over the other team and expect to win the football game. I think Lamar was plenty good enough to win a game. Just think that Andrews won. Two turnovers you can overcome. Three, I don't think you can overcome that. It was a game of inches. It was a game of inches. Josh Allen's gonna have to play. I think he was fine for what they asked him to do. I think against the Chiefs, he's gonna have to up it. I'll really up it though, because I don't think they're gonna run the ball like that against KC, in my personal opinion. But you never know. They ran the ball pretty well against Baltimore, but Baltimore, this one's gonna sting because you felt like, look, if we could get past this game, we get to Kansas City, we can win that, and then we're in the Super Bowl. This is a tough one. It's a tough one to swallow, man. It, if I'm a Baltimore fan, I'm sick because you can make the argument you were the better team for at least the second half and even for some of the first half, but turnovers they killed you, and that's why you're not moving on. The difference in the game, like I just said, there the the Bills played mistake-free football. The Chiefs didn't, or the Ravens didn't. That's what it comes down. That's what it came down to. And I hope the narrative when I get up tomorrow, it's time to get up. Okay. I hope the narrative tomorrow when I watch shows like Get Up, First Take, First Things First, The Herd, The Facility. I hope the narrative isn't Lamar can't get it done. Lamar played bad. Because if you watch this game, you know that wasn't the case. If people just want, and again, I think Lamar's weapons let him down today, but you know who that's happened in the past to? The guy who won the game, Josh. And now they're punching a ticket uh to Kansas City, and we'll be all over that game. Obviously, all week the media will be all over it because for the it's Bills Chiefs. It's 14-3. It's 15-2. The Chiefs are going for another three-peat. This is the game right here. This is the game right here. If you're Buffalo, this is what if you're Buffalo, you have to play perfect for 60 minutes. And if you can somehow beat the Chiefs, it's crazy. Mahomes' greatness, unless you're Burrow or Brady, you don't go in there and beat that team. But the Patriots at that time, they were the team that the Chiefs had to topple to get there. The Chiefs were the little, not I don't want to say little guys, but they were the guys trying to dethrone the chance to get to where they are now. While New England said, "Hold on, we're still the dynasty." Now won. The Bengals won. It was just being Chiefs were they were on their way there, and then since he's Joe Burrow, they just faced the team. They got hot and they won it. The line for this game is 1.5. Chiefs are a 1.5 point favorite. I'm not shocked by that. This is gonna be a close game. They always play them close. This is gonna be a close game. I don't see this being a shootout. I think it's similar to the game played in Buffalo where it was 30-21. I think this game is a 28-24 type of deal. Who wins it? I don't know. All I know is the keys for both teams. If you're Kansas City, stop the run. You don't want Buffalo to be able to control the time of possession. Stop the run in the red zone, hold them to field goals. I expect Sean McDermott to be aggressive because against Mahomes, you can't get in the red zone and sell for field goals. If I'm the Chiefs, similar. The red zone is going to be a big thing. Neither guy can settle for field goals. That's going to be a big thing. But if I'm the Chiefs, third down is going to be big. Spagnuolo, he's going to be doing his due diligence. What can I come up with to what can I come up with to make to help make play to help my defense make plays and get to a Super Bowl and continue this three-peat. If I'm if I'm Buffalo, obviously the whole week is going to be how do we stop Patrick Mahomes. To me, it can't be Kelsey. You have to find a way to stop or just at the most contain Kelsey. If Kelsey goes 8 for $120, the Chiefs are going to win the game. If he goes 8 for $120, that's just how that goes. But if you can hold him under 100 yards and potentially no tutties, you have a chance. You have a chance. And also the Bills, the pass rush has to be there because if Mahomes has time like Jackson did tonight, you'll lose. So you're gonna have to get pressure on Mahomes if you want to win. Yeah, so we got the Eagles Commanders is the first game, 3 o'clock on Fox to advance to New Orleans, and then Buffalo and Kansas City, 6:30 winner advances to New Orleans. We're gonna be in for a heck of a week because I know the coverage is gonna be crazy. Uh Divisional round's crazy, but we have a national title game. We have a national title game tomorrow night. We have Ohio State, Notre Dame. Winner advances or advances. What? The winner is the champion of college football for the 2024-2025 year. Wow. Ohio State to get to this moment, they beat Tennessee, Oregon, Texas. Notre Dame beat Indiana, Georgia, and Penn State. Notre Dame loves to play a lot of man-man coverage, tight man-to-man. It'll be interesting to see how Al Golden how they game planned and what game plan he's going to implement in this game. Notre Dame, to win this game, they're going to have to run the ball. They're going to have to be better up front. If they can't run the ball against Ohio State, they won't win the game because I don't believe Riley Leonard, even though he beat Penn State, I don't know if he can beat Ohio State. Ohio State, they had a great Texas kind of gave you the blueprint. Obviously, Ohio State was shooting themselves in the foot. I mean, they in the first half they have against Texas they have 4 drives where it's 2nd and 20, so they were shooting themselves in the foot. Ohio State can't do that in this game. Expect to be successful, but it's going to be interesting. Notre Dame, hey, they are who they are, and they're coming, and that's really the big thing. It's going to be about who has more intestinal fortitude. It's going to be who has more mental toughness. It's going to be about when you get punched in the face, how are you going to respond? It's going to be a heavyweight fight. I favor Ohio State in this game because I feel like they just have more firepower. But yeah, I think Jeremiah Smith has a great game. I just think Ohio State finds a way to win it. It's a two teams where I feel like in different years it's their destiny, but they're on this collision course for Monday night. It's going to be a heartbreaking scene for whoever loses it. But if you're But if you're a fan of both programs, you should be proud of your team for even getting there, considering the adversity they faced all season. And the coaches, we're going to have a first time national champion, whether it be Marcus Freeman, whether it be Ryan Day. So, yeah, that's what we got. This has been a special Sunday night reaction episode. Don't argue with the facts podcast. Schedule's kind of weird this week. I'll let y'all know on my Instagram when I can uh, really post um, and get a pod out. But yeah, that's gonna be all. I feel like I have one more thing to say, but I can't really find it right now. Yeah, that's all we got for today. Until next time, see ya. Stay safe. Have a wonderful MLK Day.